On behalf of the Professional Baseball Strength and Conditioning Coaches Society, I'd like to welcome you to the PBSCCS Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Messina.
All right, everybody, I'm here with Joe Palazzolo of the San Francisco Giants organization. Joe, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate your time. Tell the listeners about yourself, if you would, please.
First off, Chris, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be asked to do this, so I'm excited to get started. I'm going on to my third year with the San Francisco Giants organization. I spent the last 2 seasons in short season Salem-Keizer. Kind of my background to get in there. I'm from Central Illinois. Did my undergrad at a small D3 Millikan University. Started off as a personal trainer, working with some youth athletes that I did some baseball coaching with. Started strength and conditioning at a local high school just to kind of get my feet wet, get some experience, and do some little stuff like that. Got my CSCS through that process, and I played baseball growing up, so I always knew I wanted to get into baseball. So after that, I kind of tried. I got one interview in 2015 and botched it, got crushed. So at that point, I was like, all right, well, I've got to make a change here. Went to do some grad assistant work for a volunteer at Aurora University, a small D3 up in the Chicagoland area. And then at that point, decided to go get my master's at AT Still. So started that whole process as well.
And then once you got into pro ball, what's kind of your path to the Giants now from there?
I started with the Marlins in the New York Penn League in 2016. Unfortunately, after that first season, I had a good time, but my wife and I had scheduled our wedding for June of the following year, which is not real conducive to the baseball schedule. So I backed out of that. Lucky enough, I got in contact with the Diamondbacks, whose Loy affiliate was Kane County, which was about 10 minutes from where I lived at the time. So I was able to do kind of a full season volunteer internship with them while still personal training for some income to kind of stay in baseball and be able to still, get married, have a honeymoon, and appease the wife at that point. So I didn't rub that the wrong way as well. Following that season, I moved down to Arizona and did some interviewing kind of nicely as a free agent that offseason and caught on with the Giants, and it's been a great ride ever since.
Yeah, the June wedding is not great for baseball. Mine was in October, and we thought it was going to be perfect. Like, the season was going to be over. We were going to be great. Well, I got asked to work the Arizona Fall League, and I called my wife. I was like, I got great news. I'm going to work the Fall League. And she's like, well, when is it? And I'm like, oh, it's October to November. And she's like, we're getting married like October. And I'm like, yeah, like we might have to just change the wedding date. And she's like, you're going to call me back when you think about what you just said, and just hung up on me. And I was like, okay, that probably not the right approach to addressing the issue at hand, but it all worked out. We had the wedding. I worked the Fall League. It was all good. We haven't had a honeymoon yet. We're going on 3 years of marriage. So that's the one thing that's missing from our making our marriage legitimate, I guess. But no, it's interesting having to kind of balance the wife life and the baseball life for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a dichotomy. Definitely got to do your part to pay both ends.
For sure. So do you have a best professional baseball story for me? Maybe something that got lost in translation early on, or just a success story? Just what is your best memory from baseball so far?
I think one of the coolest things I've had happen was this year. In short season, we opened against Boise, a Rockies affiliate. And one of the kids that just got drafted, making his pro debut for Boise that day, was a kid that I actually had on that high school team that I first started as a strength coach. So getting to see him back when he was, 15, 16 years old, and seeing where he had gotten and getting to watch him make his pro debut, albeit against us, which he had 2 hits. So again, that was unfortunate against us, but it was kind of a cool thing to see his progression and to get to be in the dugout, while that went on. So.
No, that's awesome. That's a really cool story. That's one I haven't really heard. I've had some similar ones, but nothing like to the extent of that. So that's pretty cool that you started with him, and I'm sure he appreciated what you had done for him, and clearly it helped him pay off in the long term and getting drafted and being in Pro Bowl.
Yeah, great kid. So it was definitely cool to see him, and definitely great to catch up with him afterwards after not seeing him for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, but it's probably like you had never missed a minute with each other, right?
100%.
So you're a 2-time Strength Coach of the Year. That's a big reason I wanted to have you on. First and foremost, congratulations on that. That's awesome. 2 times, like I said. But what is it that you're doing that makes you so successful? And then maybe how have your previous experiences kind of helped mold you into who you are today?
First off, I know you got a couple to your name as well. So congrats on that as well.
Thank you.
I really think that the way it's been, the Giants have put me in a really good situation to succeed. We have a great facility up there in Salem Kaiser, which, as you know, during the rigors of a season, allows you to have other strength coaches come in and use the facility when they need to, which offers you a great chance to talk shop and get to know guys. And I think that's definitely something that's beneficial to have in your corner. Other than that, I consider myself a very passionate, very energetic person. So I'm always happy. I'm always kind of bouncy as people know me. So I think that plays a role, especially during a long season, when you do have ups and downs, to have that personality that's constantly energetic, constantly, blessed to be there, constantly having a good time. So I think that does play a role in a long season.
Yeah, I think bringing the energy is huge for strength coaches. You don't have to be like the obnoxious guy, but when you walk in a room, like, guys need to know you're there and like you're ready to go for the day. And if they see like, oh shit, he's ready to go, like I got to get my stuff going here too. So it's just little things like that, man, that make a difference. Just bringing the energy every day and helping guys get ready to perform. And it sounds like you're doing a great job with it.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
Yeah, so kind of talk on those previous experiences and how they help mold you to be who you are. Is there anything specifically that you took away that's kind of helped you be successful now?
I think getting crushed in my first Pro Bowl interview in 2015 was a huge eye-opener for me, and kind of went towards showing me the importance of education and the fact that we need to constantly be learning and constantly like shooting for that higher level of education for everything. So it was unfortunate at the time. I was very downtrodden at the time after the interview, but going forward and seeing where it's gotten me now, I'm very grateful for that. And a cool thing that I've had is over my first 4 years in pro baseball, I've had 4 different coordinators. So I've gotten to see a lot of how different people do different things to serve the same goal, different communication methods, different methodologies, different ideas. So getting to see that and having that experience early in my career pays off as far as reaching players, having different communication channels I can go through, and understanding what worked and what didn't at each place.
Yeah, I think for me, the interview process is good either way. It's a win-win. Like if you get the job offer, it's great. But if you don't, it's still valuable experience for you. And I try to write down all the questions that I get asked and the answers that I gave, and just kind of go over where I think maybe I could have given a stronger answer, or where I thought was a really good response on my part, and how they responded as well. And it's a learning experience. Like you said, it's frustrating if you don't get the job, but at the same time, if you take that step back and learn from it, it becomes very, very valuable.
100%.
So do you have anything that makes a strength coach successful in your mind, maybe in general, and then more specifically in pro ball, any attributes or anything like that?
I think having the communication skills and passion to build buy-in is a big one in my book. And I think that goes for no matter what sector you're in. If you're doing high school, college, pro ball, if you're passionate and you can communicate your program well and get people excited about your program, lets them put more energy into it. And then they start seeing some of that improvement and getting excited about it as well. And I think we're all looking for that improvement on a day-to-day, 1% better every day, however you choose to word it. But if you can't get that buy-in, then you're not going to have the same energy and effort put into that program where they're going to see those results, day in, day out, especially in the long season that minor league baseball is.
Yeah, it's that old cliche, right? Like it doesn't matter necessarily if the program's good or bad. It's more about the buy-in from the athletes and if they believe in it. If it's a great program but they don't buy in and they don't believe in it, the results aren't going to be as good as, hey, it might be a little bit more of an inferior program, but the guys are going at it 110%. So, like you said, creating that buy-in and being able to communicate your program effectively goes a long way for sure.
Yep.
So, what do you believe in within strength and conditioning that others think you are crazy for believing?
I had to think about this one a little bit. I don't think it's something that necessarily people think I'm crazy for. It's definitely something I get poked fun about at the complex quite a bit. I'm a big believer in the FRC, the functional range conditioning. So in my own workouts, I love to do a lot of hip mobility flows, like their movement paths and everything. So I get poked at a bit of fun during spring training when everybody else is in the squat rack moving some weight, and they're like, "Oh, there's Joe rolling around on the floor again." So I'd have to go.
You get worn out for it, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a good time though.
I've had a ton of people recommend it to me on the podcast and away from the podcast, and so I'm making a concentrated effort to really learn it. And I have one of our former interns sent me a whole bunch of videos on the Google Drive, and I've just been mowing those down every day. And I mean, honestly, I think there's a lot of value in it, and I haven't necessarily seen it like in a team setting and how it would work there per se. But for me myself, like I've been adding it into my warm ups, and don't get me wrong, I'm still squatting in the rack and deadlifting and all of that good stuff, but I do think there is value in it. So I won't poke fun at you. I don't think it's crazy. If it works and it helps you, man, just do it. Like, I don't care how weird it looks.
Yeah, I think it's made a big difference in my squat myself. So I'm going to keep rolling around on the ground. So.
You keep doing it, man. You keep doing it. Do you have any advice for others in the field, maybe young coaches looking to get in or even older coaches that have been around that are just looking to stay on top of things?
I think just to keep asking questions, keep reading, keep pushing towards a higher education. I think those things are always going to be there. Those are constants. As far as in pro ball, obviously Spanish is a big one, to try and learn Spanish as much as possible to increase those communication channels and increase buy-in amongst our Latin players. And for everybody, never stop being passionate. And I think being passionate and energetic about what you do, like, it doesn't make it where it's a work day. It's just another day that we're all, happy to be there, happy to be alive and doing what we're doing. So I think that makes the grind of the minor leagues go by way faster when you're just excited to be there all the time.
Yeah, I was having this talk with somebody, I think maybe yesterday or the day before, about like how bad some people's jobs could be or how monotonous or whatever like a 9-to-5 desk job is, and then like how cool our job is. And like at the end of the day, this is an awesome job. Like of course there are those days where sometimes it's a grind and it wears on you and you're away from your family and it feels long and it feels tedious and it sucks, like, very rarely, but sometimes it happens. But at the end of the day, if you take a step back in those situations and you just look at the big picture of, man, I'm a strength coach in professional baseball, like this is awesome. Like it shifting your perspective really does help with that for sure.
Yes. Step one, did you wake up this morning? If you woke up this morning, you're off on the right track. And like you said, we're blessed enough to wear a logo on our chest every day. So those are just really awesome things to focus on.
Yeah, regardless of what level you're at or what bus you're grinding on or what no-name city you're in, eating Bojangles for the 20th time in the month or whatever, like it's still all worth it, man. It really is. It's just a great job. It's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of good people and players, and you just get to see things that not many people get to see.
100%, I agree.
So you're talking continuing ed and continuing to learn. Do you have any continuing ed resources for us? Maybe books you'd recommend or podcasts you're listening to, seminars you're attending, just anything that you'd recommend for us?
I'm a big one on that one. So that's my big go-to. I also try to read as much as I can. So throw a couple books out would be like Ego is the Enemy, I think is a great one. Ryan Holiday's book. And then Extreme Ownership, Leif Babin and Jocko Willink is another great one. But books are about the cheapest education that you can get compared to what the cost of some of these certifications and stuff like that is. So I try to make the most of my time with those. Podcasts, I really only listen to this one. I'm really, really off base with most of my podcast stuff. If I'm listening to something in the car, it's probably an audiobook.
Yeah, and I like what you said. Books are a really, really cheap investment for what you get out of it, education-wise. And then for me, like I said, I've been digging into the FRC stuff. So even like instead of going to the seminar, like I literally just Googled FRC baseball and hundreds of articles popped up that are free for me to read, and I'm just printing them out and reading them. And so, I mean, it's definitely better to go to the course and get maybe that in-depth explanation from the people who created the systems, but you can get a pretty good understanding of just Google searching and finding free articles and free resources online.
Yeah, it's awesome what you can find when you dig deep enough.
I agree 100%. Hey, I'd like to do a lightning round with you. You got some time for me for it?
Yeah, I'm in.
All right, 4 questions. The answers can be as long or as short as you like. First one, biggest influence in the field of strength and conditioning. Who is it?
I think I got to give you a 2-part on this one.
That's okay.
Early in my career as a trainer, like the 2 guys that got me started into going towards the field of strength conditioning, John Buss and Joe Yeager, just two guys that are working with high school athletes back home, but they definitely made a big impact on getting me started in the field and getting me that first volunteer in high school. And then in pro ball, it's Matt Tenney. I worked for my year as a full season intern, basically bugging Matt Tenney for 5 months and asking as many questions and getting to watch him do his job and still be professional, answer my questions, never turn me away once. Definitely was a big impact on how I go about my business today.
One piece of equipment to train with, what would it be?
Barbell. Just too versatile. You can do so much with it. But bilateral, unilateral, upper body, lower body. Pick what you want and you can do it.
Biggest accomplishment professionally and or personally?
Getting married. I'm gonna throw that out and finding my wife, Amanda, who is super supportive about this line of work. So it can be hard. So I'm gonna call that one a big personal experience for me.
Yeah, big points for you right there. But honestly, it's very good, very important to find somebody who's supportive of this lifestyle. It's not for everybody.
No, it's not easy.
Last one. Any career other than strength and conditioning, what would you choose?
I'd probably be a teacher.
Yeah?
I kind of pride myself, even now, as an educator and trying to teach, why you're doing what you're doing. And I like the sciences a lot, so I'd probably be some sort of science teacher.
Anyone in particular?
I really liked chemistry back in the day or doing something with kinesiology, so probably one of those 2.
Gotcha. Well, my man, like I said, congrats on the 2-time Strength Coach of the Year. It's awesome. You're clearly doing a bunch of good stuff, and hopefully it'll keep coming out. If the listeners want to get in touch with you, where can we get more? Are you on social media, or is there a better place?
I'm not really too much on social media. I have it. I don't really check it that much, kind of from the yesteryears of high school and college. I don't really touch them much anymore. I have a phone number, 217-714-7521 if you want to get a hold of me, ask any questions. I'm free by there. I'm Italian. I like to talk a lot, so whatever works.
Well, I appreciate your time, and we'll be catching up soon, man.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be on it, Chris. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody, that concludes this episode with Joe. I hope you enjoyed this one. He's achieved a lot of things already in his career, and I appreciate him coming on and sharing his thoughts with us. 3 things that I took from Joe in this episode: never stop being passionate, keep asking questions, and continue to learn from past experiences. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll talk to you again.